during a contemptuous address at the Namibia Sport Awards, co-organized by MTC and the NSC, Tim Ekandjo said the country's top sport governors need to get their act together as they are providing a disservice to athletes. Now, joining us now in studio to discuss this is sport presenter Jovitta Kandjumbwa. Good morning, Jovitta, and thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Elawo, for having me. First time on Good Morning, so I'm excited.
We're really happy to have you here to have this discussion with us. But firstly, for the viewers who are wondering, what is it that we're discussing about? Let's take a look at that speech.
These leaders have the audacity to waste time and play around with the livelihood of our youth footballers, who, by the way, has now become or has been unemployed for the last 2 years, turning to crime and all sorts of things.
Well, that speech by the Chief HR and Corporate Communications Officer at MTC ruffled a lot of feathers, Jovitta.
I don't think it ruffled a lot of feathers. What he said was not what we already don't know. So I think maybe they didn't expect it coming from him and the position he holds. But that is the conversation already that has been happening. You know, the disappointment that everybody has in the Football Association. And if you do follow the sports awards, that is not the first time the team has given that kind of speech. I think the previous one, he talked about the racism in cricket. The year before that, he talked about gymnasium. The year before that, he talked about the transformation in rugby. So at every single sports awards where he gets a chance to speak, he gets to say what is the hot topic of the moment. And currently it's football. And I think the only reason why it seems to have ruffled a lot of feathers is because football is the niche sport in the country. Football is what everybody loves. I know we love all other sports, but the number one sport, because we all know, is football. So that's why everybody was very much interested in this conversation or be part of this conversation because of the fact that, you know, it is the football and the fact that, you know, they are sponsoring football. And he comes out boldly at the Sports Awards with this kind of statement saying that it's about time that they leave.
But Jovitta, perhaps from my understanding what you're saying is it's not necessarily what he said, but who he is making the statement that he made. So do you think this is the right platform or was the correct platform for him to make such a statement?
Whether he spoke it at a bar, whether he spoke it at the awards, whether he spoke it in the boardroom, any platform now to speak about football is needed. And this was a really good platform because this had everybody's attention. The whole country was watching. It's the annual Sports Awards. It's where we get to celebrate our stars. But it's also very important that we don't only celebrate, but we also get to see the importance of rectifying things that are wrong for us not to see more stars coming up. And football is really the highest employer when it comes to sport in the country. It has so many, it's in terms of the employment rate, you know, a club can have about 40 people, and then there are like 16 clubs. That's just in the top tier. And if you get to go to the second division, first division, so it's really an employer. And then you look at the technical bench and everything else. So it's not, the platform was excellent. I believe the platform was excellent. We had the who's of who in the country at the awards. Everybody could listen, whether it's corporate, the government, the NGOs, whoever gets to put in money into football, particularly, were there to listen to that. And I think the platform was excellent because the whole of the country was also listening. And I believe everybody, besides, of course, those in football, everybody agreed with the statement that he put up because in the last 5 years, football has only played for 2. So it's very, the influx of football, it's worrisome. You have football playing for 3 months and then a whole year it's off. You have football playing for 1 year, another 2 years it's off. So it's really worrisome. And if you know athletes, the life of an athlete, it's short. Your career by 30 is over. And by 30, that's where everybody else is starting to blossom. As a sportscaster, I will probably be at my prime at 30. But for a footballer, they are retiring to get. So it's very important that the importance of them being able to partake in the sport now at their prime is so important that we can't have football on and off for 2 years. 3 months, 1 year. So it's really, really important that that conversation or that Mr. Ekandjo had that conversation or brought up that conversation, and we now get to discuss it, because it's so important and it's very worrisome, because now the boy child, we're already crying about the boy child being left behind. And we're crying about the boy child not getting enough opportunities like the girl child is being provided now. But if you look at the platform that they had now being taken away by people who just want to be in office and fight.
Apart from the platform being taken away by sports being on and off, one of the issues he also mentioned is sports persons being undervalued and perhaps also underpaid. What do you make of that?
Absolutely right. Athletes in this country are paid peanuts.
Yeah.
Their salary can range from nothing to $2,000 to $1,000 to basically anything.
It's interesting that you mentioned that it ranges from nothing.
Yeah. They could be paid nothing, but it's with athletes, we say it's the passion that keeps them going. It's the dream that keeps them going. If it was not for that, most of them would have quit. Because you have to look for your own funding. You have to look for somebody to believe in you, who can say, okay, I'm going to take you up into my club, and the least I can do is provide you with food, but you have to play for free. Because there's no money as well. So sports, and then in turn, they are looked upon because people think sport is not a real job. But in actual fact, sport feeds everybody in the world.
True.
Athletes, footballers in the Premier League, they make $500,000 a week. So that's how much that football can give to athletes. But in this country, it's a different case. It's a part-time thing. It's a volunteering thing, which it shouldn't be that way. It should be professional. We should have our athletes professional. And there's one association, cricket, is getting it right. They're at the World Cup now. Their athletes have professional contracts. They don't do anything else besides cricket. The women, the Capricorn Eagles, they too have contracts. They don't do anything else besides playing cricket. So that's how it should be. Now, the respect we have for the Eagles now is, wow, you don't do anything but play cricket? You're amazed. But if you look at football on the other hand, it's this week I can pay you $2,000. Next week there's nothing. Just hold on. Let's see what we can organize. The disorganization is what's leading for athletes to be disrespected. But then that's only not in football. Different other sports codes, especially with disability, they get zero. They have to really scrap around to find something, and it shouldn't be that way. Athletes should be valued, and we should treat them with respect, because they are doing something which we cannot just celebrate athletes when they come back, they've won. We now all of a sudden know the athletes, but we should from the onset know if Jovitta is an athlete, let me give her the courtesy, because it's also us who are demoralizing the athletes, because we say, just go look for a real job. Don't follow that. But when you see a Peter Shalulile, performing out in South Africa, then we're telling, but why are you not playing football? But you're saying football is not something. So it's really that the mental also comes to play a big role, because the athletes, again, are not getting the respect they deserve. They are not getting the money they deserve as well.
Now, would you say that Tim Ekandjo making this speech can bring about change in some way?
I hope it does. I really hope it does. We saw what it did for cricket, the transformation. He spoke about racism. So transformation happened in cricket. We're seeing it. Rugby, we're still waiting for the transformation, so it's happening.
Yeah.
But I really hope that it can spark change, and change in a positive way. That we're not going to see now fights continuing, but we're going to see that people want to improve. Because football does not only affect players, it affects coaches.
Yeah.
It affects the ladies that sell on the street. They get to be the ones to sell at the sports events. It affects me as a journalist. I can't do my job because there's nothing to do.
True.
So it affects so many stakeholders. It's not only the athlete. It's so many other stakeholders who depend on this to make a livelihood out of it. So it's really disrupting everybody's, every stakeholder's life. So if we can they can find a solution, which is going to be a long-term solution, we don't see, football being on and off, then we can see a 10-year plan that will have football continuously being played. And I really hope with the influence that, Mr. Ekandjo has, and the influence that MTC has, because the thing is, with MTC, they are the biggest funder of sport.
Yes, they are.
And if they are initiating this conversation. As the leading, sponsor of sport, I really hope that everybody can listen to them and that we are now going to take bold steps and really implement something that will see football being played.
Well, we are running out of time, Jovitta. Please share with us your final remarks.
Listen, I'm a sportscaster. Football is my number one love. I would love to see it being played. I would love to see the Brave Warriors getting to play at home. There are so many issues that I want resolved. I would love to see the Gladiators playing at home. So basically, I just want football to be in an organized state where we can see athletes flourishing and also the game being here at home.
Thank you very much for making our time to be with us this morning.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to come back.